We got another special guest. We have a gigantic trade in baseball, and we got some big name pitchers going to FAAB this week. All coming up next in the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Happy Sunday evening, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Scott Jenstad, joined tonight by another special guest. Jeff Erickson, I believe, is in Portugal at the moment. You can probably follow his Twitter or Facebook and figure out where he is, but he's still on his trip. So we've got another special guest, one of the most well-known and nicer guys in the industry. We got Vlad Sedler here. You may know him as RotoGut. Vlad, how is everything with you? Thanks for jumping on.
Thank you. It's been a good day, good Father's Day.
Yep.
Happens to fall on FAAB every year, and that's just how it is. And
Yep.
Of course, on a crazy one. But yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you.
Yeah, the problem with Father's Day to Sunday is it always is on a FAAB. But before we get started, let everybody know where they can find your stuff, find you over at FTN Fantasy. I know most people probably know who you are and where to find your stuff, but just in case there's some new listeners, some new viewers, let them know where they can find all that good stuff.
Yeah, all the content is over at ftnfantasy.com. I could be found on X, Twitter, and Blue Sky at RotoGut.
Beautiful. Well, cool. So let's jump in. I mean, we had since I sent you the outline, we had a big move in Major League Baseball. The Giants traded for Rafael Devers. One of those moments, like I saw the tweet from Jeff Passan, and it was Robert Murray, I think, and I was like, oh, I'm sure this is fake. And I went to look. I'm like, oh no, there's a blue check mark. Let's see if they got hacked. No, it looks like it's real. What are your thoughts on this one? This is a big move. I mean, I know there's been a lot of smoke around Devers, with the preseason not wanting to change positions. Then during the season when Tristan Casas got hurt, refusing to play first base, it's just one of those things that's it's felt like maybe he's been on the block for a while and they were trying to find the right spot. But he's got like 8 or 9 years left on that contract at $28.5 million per year. So, and the Giants are paying the whole thing. They do get Kyle Harrison and Jordan Hicks and a couple of prospects. One of them is a kid from Florida State that was the #1 pick last year. But fantasy-wise, what do you think about Devers going to San Francisco? Not the kindest place to hit.
No, not at all. Not the kindest place. And obviously, it's a big transition going over from the AL East to the NL West. A lot of really good pitchers parks, and of course, they're in San Francisco, one of the best pitchers parks. And of course, a guy like Devers, who, by the way, when mic'd up, Clayton Kershaw called him. I don't know, maybe he was just being nice, but like a top 10 hitter in baseball at worst.
Yep.
It's funny. In the preseason, I was very much out on Rafael Devers just because a lot of the things going on in the preseason. I mean, obviously that culminated into something bigger, but it was just an issue I didn't want to really tackle in those early rounds. And just because there were a lot of other good options going there in the third round. And so I opted against. And obviously Devers has been hitting really well despite all of the turmoil. But I think we've seen it with so many hitters, no matter how good they are. Everyone from Christian Walker, maybe everyone except for Kyle Tucker, that you've seen struggle coming over from a new team. And this is a big move from the East Coast to the West Coast. Sure, great. It's a fresh start. I'm not worried as much about the park per se. He's going to be facing some tough pitchers, but I think just the adjustment to the new league, new team, and everything, I think you'll probably see some struggles early on. But for me, the more interesting part, because you're essentially locked in. If you're in a non-trade league, you either have them or you don't on teams.
Yeah.
So for me, the more interesting pieces would be like a Kyle Harrison, who I thought perhaps might jump into the rotation right away. The fact that Hunter Dobbins has been so solid, it looks like they decided to send Kyle Harrison down to AAA. But crazy, believe it or not, I'm actually holding on to him in 15-team leagues.
Yeah, it was interesting because the worst thing as a fan is like, oh, you traded the best player, but at least we're getting these guys back, and then you see Harrison get sent down AAA. I know it's not a big deal. Brian Bayo pitched really well this week. He had a really nice two-step for people that threw him. That was including shutting out the Yankees over 7 innings today. So there's just not a spot right now, but Giolito hasn't been good. Walker Buehler's been hurt. Dobbins has been good too. Bayo's been a little shaky before these last 2 starts. There's probably some possibilities for Harrison. I imagine they want to get him in AAA, kind of see what they've got, work with him, maybe work on some pitch mix stuff. I imagine they turned Jordan Hicks into maybe a late inning reliever, I would think.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. I think over the course of his career, we've seen him have the most success in those, the shorter, the relief spots. And I think that's where he excels best, especially with his pitch mix, his velocity. And so, Jordan Hicks adding to a bullpen with Aroldis Chapman and Garrett Whitlock and Justin Slayton. It's a pretty good place to be.
It is, and his strikeout rates have really fallen off pretty significantly as a starter. So maybe you put him back in the pen, you get him back to throwing hard, gassing people. Maybe it works out pretty well there. But it was a big move though. You don't get a lot of that in baseball in June. Usually we expect that late July when the trade deadline comes along. It was one of those things like it was just out of nowhere too. Like watching the U.S. Open, all of a sudden it pops on there. It was a pretty wild story. I think that we knew Devers was maybe on the market. I think it was going to happen in the middle of June. Though. How do you feel about that as a Dodgers fan? I mean, this makes the Giants a little more scary though.
It does. I mean, my first thought when I saw the deal come through is there something wrong, worse than we think with Matt Chapman? And I think that's still a question I have is I know originally they're talking about maybe DH first base combo. Obviously the Casey Schmidt thing isn't going to work out. He's not going to be hitting a grand slam every day like he did this weekend.
If only he could face Kike once a week, that might help.
Yeah. And so it'll be interesting. I mean, San Francisco, Buster Posey and the team, they were going to definitely want to make him comfortable. It's not every day or even every year you add a hitter like that. Remember them trying to go after Aaron Judge a couple of years ago. And so they have a very formidable team, a great pitching staff, a phenomenal bullpen, and the hitting isn't all that bad. So if Matt Chapman comes back here in a few weeks and they're going to be competitive. I mean, they are right now in the standings, and he'll be a great add. I think it'll be a nice second half for the Giants.
Yeah, I thought it was they were kind of fake contenders just because I didn't like their offense very much. But you stick this guy in the middle of the lineup, you get Chapman back. Suddenly they become pretty good on their offense. Like you said, good pitching all the way around. I think that Ryan Walker maybe was standing. He gave up a 3-run jack to Pajas tonight. But the back end of the bullpen has been really good with Doval and Randy Rodriguez. But it's a fascinating move. The NL West is its own little race here with those three teams. It's a lot of fun. And Arizona kind of on the outskirts, but maybe falling out. But Padres, Giants, Dodgers should be a lot of fun. But I want to ask you about a few players before we jump into FAAB. I know you are the FAAB specialist, so I want to do a lot of FAAB with you tonight. You do a lot of work on FAAB. You do a lot of great work on FAAB. But a couple of questions for you real quick. Jeremy Peña with the Astros. I think this is someone that, his rookie year, we're all excited. He hit the 22 home runs, 11 steals, hit 253. Everybody's, if you got him in the 21st round, our friend Rob Silver was big on him that year and kind of his player, and it turned out really well. And then the next couple of years, it's just kind of been okay. He was pretty good last year, 15 and 20, hit 266. I think we were always kind of waiting for that step up with Peña. It seems like it's here right now. He's hitting. He was over 4 today, but he's hitting 325. He has 15 stolen bases, 9 home runs. Like if you look at this and you kind of go over the course of the year, like he could be a 20-30 guy and hit 300. Like that suddenly becomes a guy that would go way higher than we thought he was going to go. How real do you think this is with Peña right now?
I think the stolen bases are real. I think obviously the higher you hit in the lineup, the more chances you have to run and just have that green light. And it's nice that he's been given that opportunity. And I don't really think that's going away. They don't have a true leadoff hitter there. And obviously Jose Altuve is just not that same guy anymore. Ironically, Jeremy Peña hasn't been a huge walk rate guy, but nevertheless, he's still it works. It really does work for him. The craziest thing that I noticed, just kind of looking into Houston and Jeremy Peña, is this is crazy. So the Astros, so not only have they faced the least amount of lefties this year, just the way it shook out, but literally like almost 3 times less as many lefties than like the Cardinals, Brewers, and Phillies. So all those teams have about 900 plate appearances. And Houston's at around 300. The closest team to them, I think they're like at 326. The closest to them is like 400. So it's very strange. The irony with Jeremy Peña is, he is actually a better hitter against lefties. So he's been doing a lot of good damage, hitting well against righties. Only 13% of his plate appearances this season have come against lefties, and his career WRC plus against lefties is 135, and it's only 97 against righties. So maybe you get some lefties on the schedule. Be interesting.
Yeah. And some teams will be like, maybe we're not going to throw our fringy lefty against the Astros because they're all right-handed hitters, except for Jordan, and he hasn't played for a while. But if you're lined up and your lefty's going to go against him, you're still going to throw them against him. You're probably going to throw a fringy guy, but if you're Garrett Crochet's coming in, you're not going to like move him around because they're facing the Astros. It's so probably a little bit of that. Is that a factor? Also that nobody brings in lefty relievers against them probably because they got 9 right-hand hitters, but still it's interesting that they're not facing a lot of lefties. It's going to happen at some point. They're going to start to get some guys that some lefties, and it'll be interesting to see how they adapt to that. They should be really good because they got a bunch of righties. It should work really well for them. A guy that I don't know if he's having a good season or a bad season here, Vlad, is a tough one for me. Is Oneil Cruz. 13 home runs, 25 steals. So in terms of like fantasy goodness and those numbers, really, really, really good. But he's hitting 221 in a lot of at-bats, and those that really counts for you. He's at 271 plate appearances. He's walking a lot, though, too, which is really interesting. He's jumped the walk rate up a lot, almost double from last year. But he's got a 33% strikeout rate. It's not going down. It's still a problem. It's 38% over the last month, so maybe it's even getting a little bit worse since April. But he has the second highest hard hit rate in baseball. I have no idea what to do with Oneil Cruz. There's so many amazing things. All his exit velo is crazy. Every time he hits a home run, it feels like it goes in the water because it's 117 miles an hour. But what do you do with this guy right now? I mean, it's great fantasy-wise, but only 30 RBI. Is a rough team. Team condition is not good. And then he's hitting 220, 223. Where do we slot this guy in right now? Because I'm having trouble kind of figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of take the good with the bad, and for me, it's more of a what's in store for his value, his fantasy value for next season. Because
that was my thought.
Because a lot of times, home runs and stolen bases, they're hard to find. And if we just kind of know that he's a 220, 240 hitter, and that's where he ends up, again, I think, he could hit over 250 one season, but for the most part, given the strikeout rate and his profile, that's not really who he is. But man, 1325 now is something. I always think about if you switch him out with Ellie De La Cruz and you put him in Cincinnati, either a better ballpark context or a better offensive, team. I mean, he's stuck there with the Pirates where, like, listen, I love Spencer Horwitz, but that's more of like a sort of fanboy thing. It's like, that's your cleanup hitter, or like, Joey Bart, no offense, former Giant, Scott, but, also is your cleanup hitter for a while.
No Giants fans here. We're good.
Yeah.
That's your other podcast partner.
Yeah, that's right. But I don't know. It's crazy. I think it's just something to, hate to use the term bake in, but that's what you got to consider next season. You can only have really so many of those type of players that can give you, those counting cats and then really hurt you in the batting average.
Yeah, because you feel like it's just is it one of those years it's going to hit. Like he's going to spike a BABIP year or something like that. He's going to hit 270. And it's going to be a monster year. He's only 20. I say he's only 26, but I kind of feel like he feels like he's younger than that. He's been around for a little bit longer than you think. He is 26. The strikeout rate's not adapting at all. It's just a tough one because his barrel rate's 23%. Like the dude mashes when he hits the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think also the highest bat speed in baseball. Last I looked, I mean, it's just the profile is incredible. It'd be nice to see him on another team. That's really, what it comes down to. But even then, that'll help with the runs and RBI. Maybe not so much with the batting average. That's just kind of where that's the land he's living in. 220, 250.
Hopefully at some point, my usual podcast partner, Jeff Erickson, tunes into this because there are people in the chat commenting that Jeff doesn't want to work anymore. So it'll be interesting to see if he enjoys that. He can't see the chat, but now that I said it, it's out there. Vlad, speaking of bad teams, we talked about Pittsburgh. Colorado's really bad. Tell me what you're doing with Brenton Doyle right now. This is kind of an actionable this year fantasy question. You're talking about Peña and Cruz, kind of chatting baseball, but is Brenton Doyle droppable right now? Say a 12-team league, probably a 15-team he's not going to be, but a 12-team league. Brenton Doyle's hitting 202 right now. The strikeout rate's about 25, a little bit over 25%. Only 5 home runs, only 7 steals. I know he plays in cores, but 20 runs, 25 RBI. For where this guy got drafted, he is really hurting teams right now. Are you holding Doyle, or is there a part of you that's thinking about dropping him?
So I think in 15 teamers, obviously you hold on to him. In 12 teamers, I think I would too. I think if you can afford to bench him, I think perhaps you do that. But this isn't a bad week. You're as far as the schedule for them, facing the Nationals, and then they're going to play a series at home. And he's starting to get a couple of multi-hit performances. And listen, this is a guy that is known for a insane work ethic. He was like a military trained guy. Like he's hard worker. He I think at some point can get back up to the leadoff spot. And I think it's going to take some time. He's been dealing with a major personal issue, and I think that's affecting him. So around the time, if you remember, he had a quad injury. He also went bereavement that nobody really knew what was going on. But him and his wife lost a baby, newborn baby at 12 weeks.
Horrible.
And so I think that's probably something that is kind of really heavily weighing on him. It's obviously not something you'd get over, but I kind of see better things ahead for him in the second half. I think there are a lot of players like that where they're not quite what they were last year, but they're also not as bad as they are now. And so I think Brenton Doyle should be given a chance because he'll be better.
Maybe a sit on the road, play at home for a little bit until he gets going a little more.
Something like that sounds good.
Couple of questions in the chat for you, Vlad. You prefer Matt Wallner or Joe Adell here going forward? Two guys that I think that we like some things in both of them. Wallner, sits versus lefties, which makes it a little bit tough. But between Adell and Wallner, who's your choice at the moment?
It's hard. It's really a tough question because Joe Adell is essentially playing every day. He's not going anywhere. But if you're playing in a roto league, I think you go with Matt Wallner. I think even with the platoon splits, you can avoid getting absolutely annihilated in batting average because say you do have an O'Neill Cruz or Max Muncy, or you have a couple of those guys, and you add a Joe Adell who can hit 150 for a span of 3 weeks. And then you bench him for the week where he hits 5 bombs. It's literally what he does. He's one of the streakiest guys in baseball. And there's something about Wallner with an improved walk rate. I think, the offensive context, I like him better as an overall player. So I think in Roto, you would go with Wallner. And then in just like a head-to-head or points format, I would probably stick with Adell.
Tough question for me because they are two of my favorites. I've pumped both of them up on this podcast. I'm actually going Adell right now in Roto. I really like what I've seen from Joe Adell. Strikeout rate's down 3%. Hard hit rate is up. Barrel rate's up. I think that the 246 BABIP is really low right now. He's still hitting 230. He just bumped that a little bit. I just like that recent hot streak too. I think he's really locked in right now. He's up to 13 home runs, only 3 steals. I wish he was running a little bit more, but OEP is 303, so that's probably keeping him down. I love the playing time, and I think we're at a point now where I think Adell's kind of the runway is pretty good. I do like Walner a lot. Love him against righties, but just the sitting is a little tough. I mean, they play 3 lefties this week. It's hard. They pretty much can't use Matt Wallner this week. You can't use him the first half of the week. Second half of the week, maybe you can when they have 2 righties against Milwaukee. But I think they face Andrew Abbott and Nick Lodolo this week, so they got you can't play him in the front half of the week. And just I like Wallner. I have Wallner. I like Trevor Larnach too, and for the kind of the same purpose there. But they do hit the middle of the order when they play. But I think I go Adell a little bit, but I do like both guys. One other question in here for you. I'm thinking for you. You prefer Lucas Giolito tomorrow against the Mariners or Will Warren against the Angels? I'm going to answer for you. I think your answer is Will Warren because I know you're not the biggest Lucas Giolito guy in the world.
No, I'm not the biggest Giolito fan in the world, but that also doesn't mean that he can't perform well, at a pitcher's park and just kind of catch him off guard. Mondays are always a strange day, especially if you play DFS. You kind of get that feeling. Everybody's either coming off, a trip or the end of the week, and just weird things happen. Usually, almost the opposite of what you expect. And so, I think anything is possible. But this just does kind of feel like a decent week for a decent start on paper for Giolito. Yeah. But it's really tough, man. I think I would go Giolito in this one start.
I'm going Warren a little bit, but I think it's really close. I just kind of throw out that Dodgers start. I know he gave up 7 runs. He got smoked at Dodger Stadium, but I think other than that, he's been pretty decent the last 5 or 6 starts aside from that one. I think I go Warren, but it's pretty close. It's tough.
You know what? There. I'm with you. I take it back because he's probably going to get 9 or 10 strikeouts.
I was about to call you the Giolito guy.
Yeah, no, please. I'll take it back.
Speaking of guys who have been frustrating, I think Giolito fits in there. What do you make of Bailey Ober right now? This is someone that got a lot of hype. We like the strikeouts. He had a 21% K- walk last year in 180 innings. The whip was 1. It's been really different this year. His swing strike rate's down 2%. So the strikeout rate is down almost 10%. It's 9.5%. It's really a problem. He's at 17.6% right now. His home runs are up. He's 1.6 home runs per 9. BABIP's up. Barrel rate's up. Hard hit rate's up. He's a 4.4 ERA and a 1.38 whip right now. What the heck do you do with him? I don't think you can drop him again. But are you starting to bench Bailey Ober? How worried are you about his first 12 weeks of the season?
Yeah, it's been pretty bad. I mean, it was kind of a bit of a sign when he gave up those 8 earned runs Actually, it wasn't even a sign because he gave up those 8 earned runs, and he's known for literally getting bombed every year on opening day or on his first start, and then just cruises like nobody's business. But he actually did do that for a nice stretch in April and through early May, and where he was essentially unhittable. Wasn't striking out that much, like you said, but it's just been really rough lately. And 12 earned runs over the last couple of starts, failing to even reach the fifth inning in probably I think 4 of the last 7 starts, something like that. I think he's not healthy. I mean, this is a guy that the walk rate is always there. He's always kind of like a 6-7% walk rate guy, and that's still intact. But there's something off when you look at a strikeout dip that is so extreme, and it's really rough. So maybe he's hurt. I don't really know.
I think that's a good call because his velocity is down like almost a mile and a half. Like it's down to 90.4 in his fastball right now. He was 91.7 last year. When you're living in the low 90s and you drop a mile and a half, it's kind of like Sean Manaea. Whenever he does that, he always gets smoked. When you're living at 96, 97, you drop to 94, 95, like you can still live with that. When you drop at all, when you're down kind of in that danger zone already, I'm worried about him right now. I have him in one of my main event teams, and I'm still throwing him out there, but I'm not super fired up when he takes the hill.
Yeah, I mean, someone in the chat's like that saying that he's like a Kyle Freeland with a functional team behind him. I don't think that's quite true. I mean, this is a guy that had one of the best whips in baseball for several years.
21% came out as walk last year. Like he was a really good pitcher last year.
Yeah. So, and then coming up for this week, I think it's a very easy call. Unless you have no other options, I mean, you can sit him at Cincy. That's who he's facing. It's going to be a start on Wednesday. But if that goes well, and maybe the velo is back up, you're looking at Seattle and Detroit the following week, and I think that's possibly playable. But I don't think you drop Bailey Ober until there's some serious, significant news. But I think you can absolutely bench him.
Yeah, it's just tough because in a 12-teamer, I think you can bench him. You have some serviceable guys, but a 15-teamer, like you bench him, you're starting some guys you don't really want to start. It's hard to bench your SP 2 or 3. I get it. I think you're right about at Cincinnati, but man, that's a tough bench.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What about one more guy? Since you're talking about Cincinnati, what are you doing with Matt McLain right now? This has been an injury-marred year, but also a rough year. He's hit $191, 8 home runs, 11 steals, so he's just a little bit of fancy goodness there. But man, his strikeout rate way up. He's hitting 9th, which is like maybe the biggest problem this whole thing. Like he's just not getting as many at bats. The counting stats are problematic because he's hit 9th, and he's kind of been down there for a little bit now. It seems like he's kind of settling in there, but he's hitting 191. He had 2 hits today, so I'll bump that up a little bit. But man, strikeout rate's 29.5%. You have any fear that maybe that the Matt McLain we thought we had is gone?
I am playing him. Going to continue to play him. I think I probably was a little too enamored with the 25 possibilities and being the number 3 hitter in Cincinnati. I was not as much worried about him getting hurt, but counting category wise, I mean, it's there. I mean, I think the home runs are going to, increase. I mean, he hit 2nd today against the lefty, which was a good sign. It was good to see. And, he is below all of his expected metrics. So he's, like a 320 slug. His X-slug is like at 380. And so there is some good, I think, coming back. And you've got a walk rate over 10%. I think you'll see him start to move up in the lineup a little bit. I mean, Matt, remember he was out of baseball for a year, but this is a guy that was absolutely dominant. UCLA, went basically, 15-15 in half a season as a rookie. I think you just accept the fact that he's a low average, high strikeout rate guy, that he's going to be striking out a lot, going to go through slumps. But I think he's somebody that can kind of sneak in and get us 25-25 this season and get us thinking about him again next year.
Yeah, and it's 246 plate or 251 plate appearances now at 191 is really rough. Like it's tough, but I think I agree with you. I think you probably gotta ride this one out. The power speed combo is just too good. I think you're right. Missing a year for the injury last year is a big thing. Like It's hard to roll in and just play baseball when you've sat for a year. I do get it. His hard hit rate's still pretty good. 42%, about the same as it was in 2023. So not really much to suffer there. He's walking a little bit more. I'm hoping it comes around. His BABIP's really low. His BABIP's 237. It was 385 in 2023. So if he can just settle in the middle somewhere there, maybe he can get up to 235, 240. And if he does, the ride up will be pretty good. You don't want to have all the 185 and then not get the good part. But it's been tough to stomach if you took him in the 7th, 8th round this year.
Yeah, especially if you had him with a Brenton Doyle and some of the other strugglers, it just kind of compounds.
Yeah, that would be a bad combo right there. But you do in your weekly FAAB column, you do some stuff looking at the schedule every week. I want to preview week 13 a little bit before we get into FAAB. Who do you like this week? There's a lot of teams with 7 games. There's a lot of really good schedules. The A's are home all week. The Rays are home all week. The Rockies have, I think, 1 home series. The Yankees are home all week. But we have 6 AL teams with 7 games. The A's, Astros, Angels, Yankees, Rays, and Orioles. And then 6 National League teams as well. You got the Nats, Phillies, and Marlins. Dodgers, Padres, and Rockies. There's a lot of games this week. There should be a lot of stats this week. It's warming up everywhere. It was like 85, 90 degrees in LA today. So it's getting warm everywhere. We're going to have a lot of balls flying out. Sacramento especially. We talked about that park a lot. But who do you like this week in terms of if you're looking to stream some schedules and you maybe want to figure out some ways to get, if you got some fringy guys, you want to play some parks. Who do you like this week schedule-wise?
Well, just in general on offense, this is going to be a great week. As you mentioned, things are heating up. And then just little things when you see more 7-game weeks, like you mentioned, we've got about 10, 11 teams with that many, where, last week you had the A's and the Rays, 2 teams that play in minor league parks. They were at home they were away from home all last week.
Yep.
They're both at home with 7 games this week. And the fact that they're playing maybe the A's, I think, are facing some tougher pitching. It still kind of balances out with the fact that they're playing in Sacramento in 80, 90 degrees, maybe even higher. On top of that, you've got the Yankees with 4 in Los Angeles for this first series. So I think there's definitely going to be some big strikeouts.
No, they're home. They're in New York.
Home, yeah, in New York, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're going, then they're going to play another 3 in Baltimore. So you got the Yankees for 7 at home is great. You got Baltimore going to Tampa Bay for 4. Like there's just a lot of really, a lot of goodness this week. And so, I mean, one guy that really stood out to me, I think, was Cam Smith, somebody that is available in some 12-teamers. I think he's earning consistent playing time, gaining some confidence, starting to produce a little bit. So, he's somebody I'm interested in. You're looking at fringe Tampa Bay guys, guys that run, the Jake Mangums of the world. I think, Jose Caballero, he's doing it again, baby.
Can we get Jose Caballero to play more than twice a week, though? Man, he had 4 steals this week and he had 6 at-bats. That's a crazy stat. I think that was before today. I think he played today. But it's just crazy. I mean, he had 2 pinch running stolen bases earlier in the week. It's just it's hard because you want him to be in the lineup. You want to play him, but then you can't sit him because he has 4 stolen bases in a week. It's
I just play him every week.
Yeah, that's kind of what I came down to. I was trying to figure it out every week, and I just kind of am slotting in there for now, at least while he stays hot and running this much.
Yeah. I mean, and then of course, I think the A's. I did not get any Maxwell Muncy. That's why I call him, just because just to keep him.
Just because you don't want to be disrespectful to your Max Muncy.
Yeah, well, just to keep him separated. I don't want to have to say A's.
Your Max Muncy was originally A's Max Muncy.
I know.
Yeah.
But I think he has a decent schedule. I mean, Austin Wynns. I did not need any catchers in 15-teamers, but I had him in the article. I put him in on Friday and then actually bumped up his bid range by a few dollars. And then he homered again. I think he was hitting 4th or 5th. Soderstrom had the day off. So I think come on, who's, Willie MacGyver. He doesn't have any, special tools or skills up his sleeve,
You're trying to get that one there.
It didn't work.
I'm pretty sure I read it that Austin Wynns ended up with he has the highest WRC plus in the history of Cincinnati Reds catchers.
Makes sense.
And he will forever unless he goes back there sometime. But I actually like that too with a home 7. We're gonna talk about your article in a second, but I read your article and I saw the win thing there, and I kind of was like, all right. So I put him in my where I needed a catcher. I put him in my bids just because 7 games at home. I think he plays probably 4 games, maybe a pinch hit here or there too, and it's a nice setup for him this week.
Did you get him?
I did not. He was my second catcher. I think I got someone else. I forget who I got though.
I've gotten the spelling of the Saltalamakias and the Mike Yastrzemskis, but for whatever reason, every time I'm writing an article and I type in Austin Wynn's name, I want to put a Y in the Austin part too.
Oh, just because there is one, the other one. All right.
Yeah, but I think it'd be cooler if he did.
I won Edgar Cuero instead of Austin Wynns, but I had Austin Wynns right behind him.
By the way, let me ask you what you think of Kyle Teal, because I have a team where Kyle Teal and Gabriel Moreno, this is a 12-teamer. They are my 2nd and 3rd catchers, and I need power, but I can't get myself to drop Moreno. Just kind of feels like it's, not a good idea.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to expect from Kyle Teal the rest of the year. What do you think?
I think Kyle Teal's going to strike out a lot, but I do like the fact he's got a 55% hard hit rate so far. I know it's only 7 games, but he's making some loud contact. The strikeout rate's huge, but he's still walking a lot too. He's like 21% walk rate so far. He's a walk guy. I mean, that's what he's known for. I think I hold for another couple of weeks. I think that 1 week into guys is just. I mean, I guess 7 games. He's probably been up for 2 weeks, but it's just so early. We've seen it with some. You mentioned Cam Smith, like he was horrible early, and now he's starting to come around. It's hard to hit when you first come up. I think I'm holding on to Teal. I'm probably holding on Moreno too. My question for you is, what do you do with Keibert Ruiz? Does not have a home run since March.
Well, I knew what to do in this preseason is don't draft him.
I did as well. He was on my fade list. But if you got him right now, like the batting average, I know he never strikes out, so the batting average is still pretty good. But man, it's really hard to play a guy who never ever hits a home run.
Yeah, I think the barrel rate is like, they're like 2-3% without me even looking it up.
Yeah.
84 mile per hour exit velocity. I mean, it's bad, but I don't know what you do. I would look to replace him unless you're in a league where you're just so, over the top in power category and homers and RBIs, and you just need batting average.
And even then, he's got to get really lucky with BABIP. Like, he's still hitting 252 right now with 2 home runs and 18 runs and no steals. Like, you're just giving away so many categories with the Ruiz. And, you look at some guys you could pick up, like Dylan Dingler has smoked him, at least in power-wise. So it's just, I think that, it's crazy that Ruiz had 2 home runs his first 2 games and hasn't home run since. And people were like, oh, there it is. He found the power. I'm like, give it a time. No home run since March. I'm going to stick with that. But real quick, let's do a few news and notes before we get to the FAAB talk. But first, a quick note, just wanted to let everybody know the NFFC RotoWire Fantasy Football Online Championship is now live. Play fantasy football against your favorite RotoWire experts on NFFC this football season. Jeff Erickson, Nick Whalen, and more, including me and Vlad, will compete in the RotoWire NFFC Online Championship for a shot at $250,000. Sign up for a draft today at rotowire.com/high stakes. That's rotowire.com/high stakes. I am not personally quite in football mode yet, but I know a lot of people are. If you are, that contest is already kicked off. So, Vlad, we had a couple of big news and notes. I just want to hit the highlights here real quick. Justin Martinez, the Diamondbacks closer, at least to start the year, is having Tommy John surgery. So disappointing there. And AJ Puck has had some setbacks too. It's a mess. The whole Martinez or Puck situation kind of works itself out because it's going to be neither one for the second half of the year. I assume you think it's probably Shelby Miller for right now?
Yes. It's Shelby was great. Such a bummer in a main event. I did have 3 other closers. One of them is Calvin Fauch, if you count him as one. Maybe let's say 2.5. 3
saves this week.
This is true.
Yeah.
But I dropped Shelby Miller, last week, and then of course someone picked him up for like $150. Just how it goes. So I like Shelby Miller a lot. He's been excellent this year.
Yeah. Some guys that went on the IL, a couple of big names. One is not surprising, unfortunately. Royce Lewis, 10-day IL with a hamstring injury. It sounds pretty mild, but man, nothing this guy's ever mild. Are you holding Royce Lewis right now? Are you letting him go with the thought that it's mild, but nothing with him ever is short term?
If you can afford to stash him in a 15, I think that's fine. In a 12-teamer, it's hard to say. If you really need the roster spot, like maybe you can get him back in a few weeks. And if you don't, I think you'll be fine. I think we'll be fine without Royce Lewis this season.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been good enough to really feel like you have to stash that. Jackson Merrill, who is very good, 7-day IL for a concussion protocol. Weird, he got tagged on a play when he was stealing base, got tagged in the head. Seemed like it was minor, then all of a sudden today went the 7-day IL. So that was really disappointing there. I do have Merrill in the main event, and that's going to be a tough replace right there. Tyler Malley went on the 10-day IL with some shoulder soreness. I think I'm probably leaning towards dropping there. Any pitcher with shoulder soreness, I tend to freak out pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, and literally the luckiest pitcher in baseball who's already starting to unravel. I mean, the difference between his xFIP and Sierra with his ERA is insane. And then it's just with, I think it was like a 7% KBB percentage. It was really bad. So it's almost like, he's doing us a favor.
He might have gotten out there just in time. One of your guys, one of your Dodgers, Roki Sasaki, his throwing program got shut down. The quote was that he didn't have any pain, but doesn't feel comfortable at full speed. Do you think we see Sasaki pitching on the mound in Dodger Stadium this season?
I think we'll see him pitching on the mound this season, but I think it's the easiest of drops. I did myself on all my biggest teams, even my ultimate auction. It was time. Probably should have done it before, but it was a quote. Also, not just the fact that he was pain free, but there was something about like he wasn't confident to I don't know. He's just starting to sound. He's not like the Michael Jordan I thought he was.
Yeah,
He's still like a baby.
it feels like he's not comfortable letting it go, and you can't pitch in major league games like that, so it's really tough. But also we got Jacob Melton went the 10-day out with a right ankle sprain. I really like Jacob Melton. I picked him up last week, and he had 3 RBIs on Friday, and then got hurt. He's out at least 4 weeks. That's an easy drop right there. That's a pretty simple one. Will Vest left today's game with what was called a pinky injury. Vlad, I have to admit, I don't know how serious a pinky injury could be. It doesn't sound serious, but for a pitcher, I imagine it might be.
Yes. And Tommy Canley was not available in any of my leagues, and I would have totally gone for it. But I don't think. I mean, listen, I'm not a doctor. I definitely don't even play one on Twitter, but I would not. I don't think I would worry too much. But again, what do we know really about pinkies? Unless it's broken, then you can't really throw. Or I mean, you could, but I don't know.
Yeah, and there's some chat about Josh Smith in the chat. Yes, there were 2 Josh Smiths in Bangel. That's why one of them had the middle initial in their name. Let's talk some FAAB, though. I think that you're the FAAB guy. You write a FAAB column every week. I'm going to ask you one question for that. How long does that freaking thing take you? Because it is a piece of art every week. I read it every week. I do not read a lot of content. I read your FAAB article every week religiously. How long does that thing take you?
Let's say most of the weekend, because it starts with a list that I compile Thursday night and Friday. And that's kind of the issue, since I started having an interactive list or active list that I'm constantly updating. It ends up having to happen all weekend. And, it kind of, got Father's Day, but I'm like, oh, sorry, kids. I got it. It takes hours and hours. I know it's over 10-hour process over the weekend. So it's a lot, but that's the job.
I will say it reads as if you put a lot of time into it. So I know there's a lot of time into it, but it definitely does read that way. So if anybody does not read that, I would highly suggest starting your FAAB with that every Friday or Saturday, whenever you start to do FAAB. But today was a pitching FAAB week, Vlad. There was a lot of pitchers that were picked up. There were a couple of names in particular. The first was Jacob Misiorowski for the Brewers. Came out firing that first start. I think he gave up no hits in the first 4 innings. Then he left with some cramps, but he looked really good. The stuff looked really good. I think we know there's going to be some wildness here. There's going to be the one factor that he does walk a lot of guys, but the bidding on him was very aggressive. There was no winning bid under $84, and there were only 2 in double digits. It seemed like the kind of mid-range on him was like 180 to 210, right in there somewhere with most of the winning bids. There were a handful of bids that there were 3 bids at 321. Actually, it looks like from not the same owner either, which is kind of interesting. But most of the backups were in the triple digits too. He was very competitive. How do you feel about Misiorowski? Were you in on him as a heavy bid? How do you feel about him moving forward here?
It's tough. I actually had Yuri Perez higher than Misiorowski. I still actually can't fully figure it out. I know we talked a lot about it a little bit before, but people not scared of a 14-15% walk rate in the minors. You're not scared of the fact that Logan Henderson was freaking dealing, and then he just got pulled and sent to the minors just like that.
Still weird, by the way. Henderson was great. It's very strange.
Yeah, and so I think both had over $100, him and Yuri, but for me, what it was is that. So, by the way, the average winning bid on Misiorowski was 192, and on Yuri Perez it was 138.
All right.
And I kind of had it in reverse. And with Yuri Perez, he was supposed to go 80, 85 pitches, and he went 78, and he didn't strike anyone out. And I think today's outing and the fact that he got blasted that first one, people forgetting about the first 8 rehab. I understand it's against minor league pitching where he was just unhittable. There's going to take some time, and it's it's the Marlins. They don't win many games and all that. And coming off Tommy John, a lot of issues and concerns, but you can make a checklist for both, him and the Miz. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think people saw the big strikeout numbers of Misiorowski. Also, he looked really good. I mean, the eye test is super. I mean, it's recency biased too. People saw that start. He looked nasty. I think we were a little bit worried about what was up with the leg, but it seems like it was just cramps. But he looks like someone that can strike guys out. But you're right. The walk rate is concerning. If you're going to walk that many guys in the minors, that's going to have to rear itself when you're getting the majors too. But I think a lot of people are looking for pitching too. I mentioned last week I lost Corbin Burns and Pablo Lopez. A lot of people lost Ryan Weathers this week. I think people are just desperate for pitching, and if you're looking for someone with high upside, Misiorowski is clearly that. He was a second-round pick in 2022, so the pedigree is there as well. And he's supposed to be pitching Wednesday against the Cubs, and then he gets a really nice schedule after that. So the schedule is I think he faces Miami. I think it might be a Colorado in there. I forget who it was, but it's like after he gets to this Cubs start, if he stays in the rotation, the next 3 starts look really good. So that's probably an issue too. I think people were looking ahead and figuring out that they could start him pretty easily moving forward.
But that's the question. Where's the if you said if he's in the rotation, how do we know that's that's the concern. And I think it's kind of the overarching concern with anyone we're spending at this time of the year over $100 on, or, thankfully this didn't get into the 200s,
right.
But this was also a week of a lot of deep pitching. There was a lot of pitching available. And it was the FAAB week where there was the biggest difference between the top bids. I mentioned, Miz for 192, Perez 138, Shelby Miller went for 156. Then there was a massive drop off. Everyone else went in the 30s, 20s, and below that. So, Brandon Walter, phenomenal start today. Hunter Dobbins looked good again today. Maybe Jansen Junk somehow, stays in the rotation. Quinn Priester, kind of sneaky.
Great two-step. Our friend DeGills was getting his diving off the diving board tweet ready when he said he was a start him earlier in the week, and he had 2 great starts. It was a really good week for Priester.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
talking about Yuri Perez, you mentioned you had him higher than Misiorowski. Yuri Perez is back from injury. He's not pitched since 2023. This was really good in 2023 at the major league level too. He was 3.15, 1.13 in the majors with a 20.6% K-minus walk. Like, this is someone that was really good in the majors, proven it, and got hurt. Do you think that we're going to see enough innings to make him worthwhile this year? Do you think that he'll be good in those innings? I know he only threw 4 today with no strikeouts. I think that really lowered his price. I think people freaked out with strikeouts, 3 walks, 4 hits. Like, he didn't look good today. He didn't look good in the first start. But this is someone who has proven it in the majors a little bit. I know it was only 91 innings in 2023, but he has been really good. The team's bad. The team contest is bad. The Brewers team contest is better. But why did you like Perez over Misiorowski?
I feel like I kind of said most of it, but I think he is locked into the rotation. I think both are just as big of a risk. Granted, one guy is just coming off Tommy John, but he's had a long time to recuperate and to get back. He had 8 rehab starts in the minors before he came back, and they're just going to let him go. They have other issues in that rotation. Like, he's just sticking in there, and we know it. Miz is a monster prospect. He's obviously awesome. But like Yuri, these guys, there's something really scary about these guys that are throwing 97, 98, 99, 103, what it is.
We just talked about Justin Martinez. So it's true.
Yeah. And so when you're also spending a whole lot of money on it, I think it's kind of been my theme this year, especially because I've been spending more heavily early in previous seasons. This year, I've kind of, in general, pulled back and trying to look at things more from a, what's more likely to happen. And a lot of times that it's more of the bad stuff than the good. It's very rare that you just running pure and everything goes good and you earn value on your $150, $200 fantasy pitcher.
Yeah, it's tough. When you do hit, it's really good. I was the backup in my league on Misiorowski, my Vegas league, Misiorowski and on Yuri Perez, but I was $100 short on Misiorowski, so I was backup, but I wasn't really that close. He went for 243. I was at 143. That's the league that I lost Burns, Weathers, and Pablo Lopez. So I'm trying to hit something big, and that team's pretty good too, which makes it tough because the pitching's going to collapse at some point. I had a little Clayton Kershaw, Brian Bayo combo this weekend just to keep me alive, but it's going to be rough at some point unless I add on. But talking about a few other guys that were a little bit lower. I want to talk about a couple 12-teamer guys first before we get into the 15-teamers. Your boy, Ben Kasparius with the Dodgers. He's 36% rostered in the RotoWire 12-team online championship. And Slade Ciccone is 46% rostered. He has 2 starts this week. So does Kasparius. Let's start with Kasparius. I know that you like him. Do you think we're going to get him up to 5 innings this week? Because I know he's really good. I know the stats are good. I know everything's really good with him. But at some point in fantasy, we're going to need him to get some wins.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he's still supposed to go on Monday after Ohtani.
Yep.
First of all, that's like the deadliest combo ever. Ohtani.
I know.
Is going to be
and it's great. It's great you get an opener for him because he can go 4 innings and still get a win. So if you're going to do that, it's really nice. Yeah.
Yep. That's right. So you get an inning, maybe 2 innings, and then Kasparius comes in, through the bottom of the from the bottom of the order. The Padres bottom of the order might be starting. Actually, Trenton Brooks, the guy that just came up for Jackson Merrill, he's been running hot in AAA, so maybe he'll be fine. But I don't think Dave Roberts even knows what he wants to do with him. They just have, it's that staff has been an absolute mess. I mean, this is a team that has basically led the Dodgers rotations have led the like baseball in ERA by like a good chunk. I think maybe Cleveland, some other Houston, some other teams are up there for like the last 10 years. And then this year they're bottom 7 in
Are
ERA.
are they really bottom 7? Wow.
It's like 420,
okay.
423 something. Kershaw coming back of all things has been helping him.
Yeah.
But it's been really rough. And I think Kasparius, I would love to just see him lock in and handle this role. Like maybe this will be his thing going in with Ohtani. Ohtani. By the way, I actually think Ohtani pitching, this could be wrong, is not. It's like I feel like it's a mistake. Like the guy's like played every game this year. He's just been on a tear. I think it's going to throw him off a little bit. But maybe it'll work. 1 inning.
I mean,
he's
done it in the past. Have been fine. I kind of agree with you. I think that I'd probably just let him hit, but I know he wants to do it. I know they want to let him do it, but I just and it's funny because you can't do rehab starts with him, right? Because you can't send him to the minors. He's got to hit. So it's one of those things. This is kind of the way they got to do it. Yeah, I'm a little worried about it as well. But he's really good at it too. So there's that. Yeah,
who the heck are we to question Ohtani?
Do you think that? Do you think you think Emmett Sheehan still comes up this week? There was some talk of him coming up Tuesday or Wednesday with Ohtani and Kasparius pitching tomorrow. Yamamoto Thursday, Kershaw Friday. Probably May later in the week. It seems like Sheehan could pitch Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, that's kind of looks like the plan. So just 2 days ago on Saturday, he was either going to make one more rehab start, and then I think he threw 57 pitches in his last rehab start, and even then he's probably not going to go all that many. But I mean, they kind of want to keep it on a 6-man, or they're going to at least try to. So they're going to need Sheehan in. I would guess that he pitches Tuesday or Wednesday.
He pitches well. We're going to get some big bids on him next week, I think, too.
Yep, him and Stanton, bring it on.
Oh, that's right. Giancarlo is supposed to play Monday or Tuesday this week. That's right.
Yeah.
What about some of these other guys in 15-teamers? We had Kumar Rocker pitched well on Sunday. Tyler Malley's out, so kind of opens up the role for Walker. He's going to pitch this week. Should line up against Pittsburgh, which is a nice setup. JT Ginn might pitch this week, might be back, might go twice this week. One of those guys. You mentioned Hunter Dobbins before. Pitched really went to the Yankees this week. Quinn Priester. Brandon Walters, we mentioned a couple times in the chat. You mentioned he pitched really well today. Where'd you kind of come in these middle range guys? Who did you like the most?
I think I in Houston, it's interesting there because they, beyond Hunter Brown, obviously was amazing. McCullers and Valdez. McCullers is really, had a strong few starts. It's the rookie Colton Gordon has come on, the lefty, and then they essentially have what we thought were 2 spots for 3 guys, because there was a point where Ryan Gusto looked like he was just going to go to the minors or just be a bulk reliever. But then he bounced back, had a couple of good starts. And then you got Brandon Walter. So there's a chance that they go with, they have 7 games this week. It's a chance that they go with a 6-man here, especially somebody like McCullers. They may not want to pitch. They've been pushing him back a day here and there. They may not want to go every. So I do like a Brandon Walter. He's going to get the Angels, strike out a bunch against lefties. So he was somebody I was interested in. Jansen Junk on Miami. I know he had just kind of one blowout, but was a little off the radar for those that aren't too plugged in, just because he isn't a starter. I mean, he's pitching starter innings. He's going 5 or 6 innings, but throwing between 50, 70 pitches. But he's somebody I think in that ballpark, somebody that I'm interested in. And then we'll see now with Hunter Dobbins, because the walk rate's been phenomenal and he's really held his own, but also a little lucky. And he's a rookie and things are out to heat up here in the summer. And it's kind of Kyle Harrison's spot. So it'd be interesting. I mean,
they did trade for Harrison. You got to figure at some point they're going to want to get him in there. Do you have any sort of feel for what the A's do this week? Or I guess, does it matter? Do you want to pitch any of these guys in, be 2 starts in Sacramento, either JT Ginn, Mitch Spence, who pitched well this week? Is there anybody, I dropped JP Sears because I didn't want to throw him this week. And I was like, if I'm not going to throw him this week for 2 starts, I just can't do it. So I dropped him. I picked him up last week for cheap. But is there anybody here you like? Do you like JT Ginn still? And there was a lot of sexiness in him in the minors, but this park is just so tough to pitch in.
It's really tough. It's going to be very warm. It's going to be pretty rough. So JP Sears was on my dangerous list this week, and I think you made the right call. You made the right call. Like you just, it's Houston, and like we were talking about the lefties, so they're going to get the lefty there. in Sears, and it's just going to give up. I see him giving up a lot of home runs this week. JT, again, it's funny. He was in the similar position the first time he was up for FAAB. Was coming up and had a 2-step and then got hurt or got blown up and then didn't get the second start and then went on the IL. It wasn't an arm thing, but we'll see if he gets a little bounce back here. But this is not the place to do it. 2 starts at home isn't good. Severino, the differential with his ratios at home versus road has been pretty brutal. I could see maybe Jeffrey Springs getting away with it a little bit later in the week. He's going to pitch Friday against the Guardians. Guardians are really kind of hit or miss. Yeah. Get around Jose Ramirez. And I think Stephen Kwan's banged up. Then you can maybe get through the rest of that lineup. So
yeah, they're like, for the most part, bottom 6 or 7 in runs scored in Cleveland. Yeah. So that's one you get away with. But man, I just wasn't doing. I'm trying not to pitch guys in that park as much as I can, especially as it warms up. I think it's gonna be really rough. Yeah,
it's a good idea. That's a good rule for the most part, especially in the summer.
Talking about relievers, I think we already talked a little bit about Shelby Miller. We liked him if he was available. I think he was a pretty easy pickup. He was about 74% roster in the main event. As someone who needs saves, I'm hoping you can help me out here. What are you doing? Is anybody you like really that maybe pick a save? There's Dylan Lee in Atlanta who pitched the 9th inning for a couple of their games with Raisel Iglesias kind of temporary out of the role. Do you think Iglesias gets the role back? Do you like Dylan Lee? Where do you kind of fall on anybody you like that can pick up saves here? I feel like picking up saves is really tough right now.
No, it's been pretty rough. And obviously Shelby Miller was available in a lot of leagues just because it looked like it was going to be Justin Martinez for a while, and that was that. I still do think that, Ryan Presley has been, incredible. I forgot what the story was exactly, but I think somebody on the team in the offense kind of helped him out, but he's just, last 11 appearances, hasn't given up any runs.
And he got a save this week pitching after Palencia, but then Palencia got the save after that. So I don't know what I think it's still Palencia, but you're right. I think they probably want to get Presley in there at some point.
Yeah, that's the thing is we can even sometimes pretend to know, but you don't know because the managers sometimes may not even know yet, right? Yeah, so it's like, oh, we really like Palencia, but we got Presley to do this job, and now he's good again. So I could just see it being a split with maybe Palencia as the 1A for now. Right. And then, I think Iglesias probably gets the job back at some point. There's something off with him. I don't know what it is because he's never been this bad. But weird. Dylan Lee, the top lefty there, he's been lights out. Can't trust Pierce Johnson. So other than that, really, Calvin Fauche was available in a lot of 12-teamers this week. And
I don't think they know what they want to do at closer either, but he got 3 saves this week. I think you got to, possessions 9/10 of the law when it comes to saves. I think you probably got to pick him up and see how it works out. But he's not a great skills guy, so you got to pay attention to that. Yeah, I feel like there's someone who knows you're chatting here. They want to know if you think Miguel Vargas is a legit bat.
He is. He is a legit bat. He's been incredible, and he's.
I joke because he's your guy.
Yeah, I know. He's. Remember the picture of him when he was traded to the White Sox, just completely out of it, and he's
he looked like sad man Ben Affleck.
Exactly, and now he's just on his game. First of all, the barrel rate jump from like under 5% to over 10% so far, hitting the ball 3 miles per hour harder. He's just getting it done. He's just kind of, I think, embracing a little bit of a role as a leader, especially with Luis Robert Jr. probably on the way out soon. I think he's going to be part of that mix, and he was an incredible hitter in the minors, so it's nice to see him finally get a chance.
Yeah, and I think the key with Vargas, and just I don't mean to go off the relievers here, but like just somebody asked. So you look at his stats, he's just a different guy. He's a 41% hard hit rate guy. He was 26% last year. He's a 10.5% barrel rate guy. He was a 4.5% guy last year. This is someone that was a big prospect. He was a big prospect for the Dodgers and just struggled. He was playing part-time. He was, like you mentioned, he got traded, wasn't happy about it. I really like what I've seen. Strikeout rate's down 7%. I'm someone that kind of gave you some crap about him last year. You kept saying he needs to play. I'm like, I don't think he's very good. I've changed my mind on him. I think he's really showing something. First, third, and outfield eligibility is really nice and fancy things too. Like, this is someone that I think should be rostered everywhere.
Not to keep the sidetrack, but do you think there's something lost in the fact that like everybody and their mothers and fathers are multi-position eligible? It seems like it's at a higher rate than ever.
Yeah. There are a lot of them. I guess that, I don't know. There's maybe a lot of guys that are playing around the infield a bunch. He's like Max Muncy's second, third, and short eligible. I was looking at picking up him today. Kind of Falefa's the same way. Caballero's like it's nice, but it's especially when you get someone that's corner and middle. I love those guys because you can cover two spots with two backup spots with one guy. So yeah, there are a lot of multi-position eligible. You are right. Maybe guys are just playing around more. You see Soderstrom move to the outfield, so he's multi-eligible in Oakland also. Or I see keeps in Oakland, but Sacramento. Last on here, any love? There's someone in the chat asking about Philly's arms. Jordan Romano didn't pitch for like a week and then pitched it today in a low leverage situation. It seems like his recent struggles have really lost him that job. What would you do in Philly? Would you go Matt Strahm? Or are you going Orion Kerkering? Do you like anybody to maybe take the job and run in Philly? It's probably a question that doesn't have an answer, but if you had to pick someone, who would it be?
So the thing is, and our bullpen guy at FTN, Dan Thompson at Red Fox Roto, he's really on it, and he's doing like 15-minute a week podcasts, and he's pretty in tune with with most of the bullpens. But he knows that Thompson, manager there, he's very much a committee guy where he can be, or as much as he can be. And so I don't know. There's just something about Romano that just kind of feels shaky, feels off. I don't think there's like the guy. And Kerkering just hasn't been, as electric as we would have expected. We thought, I forgot what it was. It's either the ERA or the WHIP is like really high, which is very uncharacteristic for him. But Matt Strahm is, he's the top lefty there, but he really is kind of the most solid, most stable. I think as long as Jordan Romano is healthy and there are no issues, he's the lead. But it's the health part that I don't fully trust. And so I don't know. At some point, Kerkering just has to be the guy, but I don't know if they're going to make that move yet. So, long story short, Matt Strahm.
That's my answer too. I just think Strahm's the best pitcher right now. Kerkering's walking a lot of guys. His whip is really high, like you mentioned. I mean, Strahm is 21.5% K- walk. The swing strike rate's really good. His BABIP's a little bit high, so maybe the numbers that's spiked them, but he's still 3.49, 1.16. I like Kerkering as a pitcher, but I think Matt Strahm's the guy to pick up. I just know he's a lefty, so if you get the matchups wrong, he's going to pitch in the eighth. They face Juan Soto, they face the Mets. He's going to go in the eighth to face Soto. But I think Strahm would be the guy that I'd add right now.
Why not? Why don't they just put Jose Alvarado back in? Too soon?
Too soon. Wait, when's he back? Like August, something like that? I don't even know with his suspension. Speaking of which, that's a good segue to offense, though, Vlad. We talked about PED suspensions. One of the guys that was picked up on offense is Jurickson Profar, 46% roster in the main event, eligible to return on July 2nd. What do you think we're looking at with Profar here?
Boy, they could just use they could use his bat. I think it's going to take him a little bit of time to get up to speed. But yeah, let's see how he is without the old PEDs. So not somebody I went too crazy after. And I don't know. I'm not a huge fan, I guess you could say, for him for the second half of the season.
He's got such a line to playing time, though, right? Like the playing time should absolutely be there right now.
Yeah, that's true. Once and it'll be July 2nd.
He can play minor league games before that, so it should be up like July 2nd. I just think that I don't know. It should slide in a good lineup. Verdugo's. I'm not worried about that. They don't. I think Profar should just play left field. I just think he gets a lot of playing time, but I agree with you. I don't know how good he's going to be. I don't know how much of this was PED related. He obviously had the spike in home runs last year, so I don't know what we're going to get. But I do think that he's someone that he's 24-10 last year. If he's available, I think he's worth a shot to see if he's the same guy at least for a couple of weeks.
I mean, for the Padres last year, 94 runs, 85 ribbies is insane.
Huge numbers, and he might just slide into Verdugo's spot and hit second. If he hits second, right next to Acuna. I mean, that's sudden between Acuna and Olsen and Riley. That's a really good spot, and they paid him too.
True. Yeah,
they paid him.
Yeah.
Who else did you like on offense this week? Christian Moore was kind of the rookie that got called up. That was kind of the sexy name. He was playing in the College World Series last year, so he's a really young guy right now. But how do you feel about Christian Moore getting called up for the Angels?
I wasn't too excited about it. I think if this had happened 3 weeks ago, he'd be getting bids of over $50 in 15 teamers. Instead, I think his average winning bid was actually right in my range. So I think it was like 14 or 16.
All right.
And I had
lower than I thought it would have been. Do you have any? Do you think people are just down low on money right now?
It's a big part of it. It's him hitting ninth. It's the strikeout rate. It's actually a big part of it is a lot of people have second base covered. It feels like, it's not something people are going out of the way. Like I have extra second baseman. I just got like Hae-Sung Kim, on benches, just like waiting for him to, and I wanted to pick up, A's Max Muncy, and I couldn't do it.
You're right. And you mentioned the multi-position too. There's a lot of people that are just kind of doubly covered at the middle infield spots. But it's funny. There was one win of him for $111 in the main event. There was nothing else over $40. Everything else was 36 and under. So he actually went. The bidding was pretty tepid this week there.
Yeah, that's true. Lane Thomas is somebody that, he's been horrible since he came over to Cleveland. There's a team where I really needed some speed. Like the offense is great. I just need somebody that can steal bases and doesn't hurt me in other categories, although he can do that. But I think maybe Lane Thomas had a nice, week, or when he returned, had a good, few games. He's going to hit higher in the lineup against lefties. So, he's somebody I was interested in.
Talk for a second. People are complaining about my dog, so I'm letting the dog out. Hold on one second. Keep talking.
Yeah, this is called crazy, but one guy that right before the deadline I started thinking about was, as crazy as it sounds, Michael Toglia, just because this is somebody that probably went back down to AAA to kind of get his get back in his groove. He's not going to be a big batting average guy, but at some point he's going to be back with the Rockies, and he's going to be hitting home runs. That's what he does. I mean, he didn't hit 25-ish or whatever last year in partial season by accident. Another UCLA guy like Matt McLain, and high walk rate guy. So I think you'll see Toglia back in that lineup. I mean, they're not going to do the Kyle Farmer, Keston Hiura thing forever.
Right
there.
I can't believe they're doing the Keston Hiura thing as it is.
He's doing nothing.
To everybody worried about the dog was not distressed. The dog was running around the backyard with my wife and my daughter. That's why she was barking. So everybody freaking out about the dog. She's fine. She's now laying down over here, so we're good. Talk to me about the A's Max Muncy. We referred to him a couple of times. He had 3 home runs this week, 7-game home week coming up. Were you aggressive on this Max Muncy, or do you think maybe we just missed his best week?
I mean, it's funny how as soon as he came back up from the minors after a stretch with the A's when he had done absolutely nothing, first thing he did, first game back, hit a home run.
Yep.
There was just like some confidence. He was hitting 5th instead of 9th. Like they're now in that position. There's like no Miguel Andujar. JJ Bleday all of a sudden stinks. Like they need some middle of the order bats, and he's really stepped up. So it's nice to see. And it also kind of adds to the whole argument about guys coming up their second time around, right? Yeah. Like you learn from some of your mistakes and you're hungry. So it's nice to see. And I mean, listen, we always get into this thing. The guy's hot. He's going, he's going to play 7 games in Sacramento. Yep. It's worth a couple of bucks to figure, to try to see if it's going to be worth it or not. Mickey Moniak was actually a guy I saw
that in your article. Yeah. What? Tell me about him. What you just like playing in Coors?
Yeah, just bad righties on the Nationals, and I forgot the second series they have, but just very streaky guy, and I'm really big on trying to catch these guys in the Joe Adell. Like you just kind of get a feel. You're starting to get a couple of hits, like barrels, long balls, and all of a sudden a ball goes out on the weekend. Pick them up for the next week, especially if it happens to line up with good schedule. I think that's the case with Mickey Moniak. Probably hit middle of that lineup, and then they'll go to Coors after that. So just some power.
You mentioned earlier Trenton Brooks when we were talking about Jackson Merrill going to the IL. Do you think he's worth a pickup this week? He was really good in AAA so far this year. 14 home runs, hit 311 with a 411 OBP, 15% strikeout rate. His number's really good in the minors. He's 29, so he's not like a prospect type guy, but maybe someone that just can hit right now. Or were you interested in him at all? He's a guy that came up with the Guardians, then was in the A's system, then in the Giants system, and now is with the Padres and getting a call this week.
No, because they're playing 4 games in Dodger Stadium. They're he'll probably play a couple of those. I don't think he's going to be an everyday guy. So they're facing the Dodgers and they're facing the Royals. You got to be, I think, in a pretty big 20 team type league to be in them, and then it'll be the biggest trap too if you actually hit some home runs off of these good pitchers this week, and then boom, Jackson Merrill comes back and he's the one sent down most likely. So probably not.
And do you like any love for the Reds lefties this week? They're facing 5 righties in 6 games a week. 3 of those are going to be in Great American Ballpark. Any love for the Will Benson, Jake Fraley, Gavin Luxes of the world? It's when those guys are facing lefties, they sit. They platoon them pretty hard. But 6 righties this week. Did you find yourself bidding on any of those guys?
Yeah, I mean these guys might have some trouble. The first series. I mean, the first series is you're talking about the Reds hitters, the
Yeah,
lefties,
talking
right?
about Reds hitters. Yeah, because they face
Festa, Ober, Paddock.
Festa, Ober, Paddock, and then they get two out of three lefties in St. Louis over the weekend. They get Payente, Mikolas, and then Liberatore, so they get one lefty. They get 5 out of 6 righties this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with them. Will Benson, I would have to literally see if he's kind of been heating up over the last couple of games because he's, one of the biggest kind of sucker plays most of the time. Just pulls you in, hits a bunch of home runs, and then disappears
and
for
looks
a while.
So good and athletic doing it. Like when he hits home runs, they're like beautiful home runs. It's kind of like a Willie Mo Peña. Like when he hits them, they're so majestic. They're fun.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I actually did like David Festa this week, and he was somebody. Too. Yeah, especially with like the at Cincy, I felt like kind of kept maybe his price down a little bit. People were scared of it, but I went for it, so I went after it. I'm almost more worried about how Bailey Ober will do, and Chris Paddock, who was, it just shows you how hard this whole game is thing we do, how unpredictable it is.
Yeah.
Chris Paddock was like lights out. All of a sudden, boom, just destroys your ratio. So you never know where it's going to come from.
I feel like that was in the Tyler Malley field of like, yeah, it was looking good, but you knew something bad was going to happen. I didn't mention Festa because he was so unavailable in 15 teamers, but you're right. In a 12 teamer, he would have been one of my top targets. I just think Festa's really good. I know that they don't let him go third time through the order a bunch, but it's going to have to change a little bit. They got so many guys that are hurt in the rotation. They're going to need some guys to go deep. And this is someone that was really a really high strikeout rate guy last year in the minors and in the majors. When he got called up, 64 innings in the majors, he had a 28% strikeout rate. So he's done it already. He had about a 20% K- walk last year in his 64 innings of the Twins. I think David Festa is just good.
Yeah, I agree, and also the job security. I think he's not going anywhere. You got Pablo Lopez out for so long, and Zebby Matthews on the IL, and he's got some, some issues. So I think you give a guy like David Festa a little bit of runway and kind of, believe in him. And I think he went 6 innings in his last start. I really, really like him for the second half.
Yeah. Any other hitters you liked? Did you any interest in Andrew Vaughn going to Milwaukee in the trade for Aaron Savale? Any Mike Yastrzemski love? Alex Call in Washington getting up a lot of playing time right now.
Yeah. So the Nationals, they called up Brady House. They sent down Robert Hessel the third, and also Jose Peña. So Brady House era. The house is upon us. It is here. But Alex Call was he's going to continue to hit in the middle of the lineup. It's a great, actually, first half of the schedule for them with those 4 starts against the Rockies. He has had the opportunity to lead off against lefties. He's in the middle of the lineup against righties. And I don't know, he's just one of those guys that's always outperformed expectations and always, high BABIP and high batting average. So, one of those, I hate to call people batting average boosters in this world, but he's kind of one of the closest things to it. Otto Kemp is a guy I'm curious about. I want to ask you because, Bryce Harper will be back at some point soon, but like he had a monster game this weekend. He really looks like he belongs on this team. Is there a path to playing time for him?
I think there is for now. I mean, it's just either him or Bohm are going to play first and third. I think they're both going to play a bunch. I like Kemp. I mean, he's a guy that was a speed power combo guy in AAA so far this year. 14 home runs, 11 steals in only 58 AAA games. He hit .313. I know the BABIP was high, but still, it's a guy that he's a .416 OBP. I'm definitely interested. If he plays every day in this lineup, I think that he's someone that is someone definitely worth an ad. And I don't think we know fully when Harper's going to be back. So I think that I was in on Kemp as kind of down my list. I didn't need corners too much this week, but I think he's someone who's definitely worth an ad.
And also, I know while you stepped out for the doggy, I was talking about. I was inundating the group here with my Michael Toglia propaganda. Let me add
you're still in on this, really? Because I mean, can he not strike out enough in the majors? Is kind of what it comes down to, right?
You know what? So I'm talking specifically for like these. You're looking for a bargain on a guy where you really need power, and you play someone at corner utility. You don't have utility covered by a Schwarber. So I think I'm literally doubling down on him and Mark Vientos.
Okay.
You guys will either hate me or love me a month from now from these calls. These are the guys.
I sure hope you're right on Vientos because I have him and I held on to him in the main. He's going on a rehab assignment this week. I just think the talent is so high with Vientos. It's been a really rough start to the year. My only concern there is playing time. Like with Brett Beatty and Mauricio up now, I just wonder, his path to playing time was really, really clear early on, and I just don't know. I don't know how it's going to look. I think he's going to have to get hot pretty quick to kind of get a full-time job.
Yeah, it's true. It's getting crowded. I mean, listen, to me at least, Brett Beatty isn't the answer. Ronnie Mauricio looks like the real deal. I think the Mets are going to have a nice little second half if the pitching doesn't burn everything down for them.
They've had a nice little first half, although this weekend was off. They got swept by the Rays. But I mean, the Mets. I mean, there's been a lot of frustration about the Mets. They still have the best record in the National League.
That's right.
Yeah. So
they're no Tigers, but yeah.
The Tigers. They're balling. The Tigers have one more win than the Mets. The Mets have the second best record in baseball. Like, I feel like just they're a New York team, so people tend to, and they got swept this week, and I do get it. The Rays made them look pretty bad, but the Mets are still been really, really good. Last thing before I let you get out of here, Vlad, I know you got to go. There's a lot of people asking in the chat about Sandy Alcantara. Alcantara? There's an A's was Alcantara. This one's Alcantara. Has 2 starts this week. He's home against Philly and home against the Braves. So some good offenses obviously there. Alcantara has not been good. We know that. Do you start him this week? Do you feel like maybe he figured something out his last start? His last start was pretty good. He threw 6 shutout innings against I know it was against Pittsburgh, but it was the first time he had a shutout outing. He'd not given up less than 2 runs in any start all year before that. So it was clearly his best outing. The strikeouts before that were 4 and 0, so it was really rough. But you got to throw him if you have him this week, right? You got to deal with it. But how do you feel about it?
So I think if you throw him if you have him, obviously it depends on a lot of factors. And if you have 9, you're in NFBC and you have 9 slots that you can fill, you feel more comfortable with ahead of him, and you're not that bad in strikeouts and wins, then sure, you can do it because it is scary. I mean, it's the Phillies, it's the Braves. These are offenses that can smack you. And then also his expected metrics, although incredibly lower than his actual metrics, they're still below league average. It's like, CRX, FIP are all around 4.5.
Yeah.
Strikeout rates way down, walk rates like at 11%. But I think that I still do believe there are better days ahead. I don't know if those days are this week per se, but I have him in on a CLQ team in a 12-teamer, and I'm going to be starting him this week. Play with fire. Why not?
It's crazy his ERA is 7.14. It's wild. But I mean, the thing that concerns the swinging strike rate. He's just not getting the swing and misses. I know he didn't pitch last year. Another guy that, he's really coming back from that injury, but he's a 9.3 swinging strike rate percent guy right now. He was, I know he didn't strike out a ton of guys in 2023, but he's still a 12.5% swing strike rate. So he got swing and misses. They're just not there right now. He's walking twice as many guys as he used to. None of it looks good, but the stuff is there. Like, he's still throwing as hard. He's kind of trying to figure out and get back in the groove. I think I throw him 2 with the fact that the last 2 starts have been really good. I know they're against Colorado and Pittsburgh, but maybe he's turning a corner. We'll see. We'll know this week because there's 2 good offenses. If he pitches well this week, I think he's kind of a full start. He can just go for the rest of the way. If he pitches badly again this week, maybe we'll have to figure that out. But I think I'm started. I got to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you.
Anything else on your mind, Vlad? I'm going to let you get out of here. I appreciate you jumping on. Anything else you want to say? Anything else that is on your mind for this week in baseball?
No, other than just the fact that for those that are watching it live, I feel so bad that when we were talking about O'Neal Cruz, I didn't think to even show my O'Neal Cruz t-shirt
look at you.
that I'm wearing. I love this.
How are you actually wearing an O'Neal Cruz t-shirt? You didn't bring that up. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's it. No.
Is that like made in like the old Santa Cruz skateboarding type logo?
It is.
Awesome.
I'm a UC Santa Cruz alum, and so that's kind of why I got it.
That's beautiful.
No, I mean, just
you impressed. I knew that.
I knew.
That was some good old school 80s skate knowledge right there.
That's true. That's good stuff.
Yeah, Tony Hawk's a big listener, so I'm sure he's fired up about that.
Mm-hmm. So. No, I mean, other than that, I mean, guys, this is a grind. We are getting into the period of time where you're going to start to, football is going to come get in the way, and like if we've got leagues to compete with, we still have like 15 more weeks of 12 or whatever a FAAB. Like, there's a lot of grinding to go, and so. Lowering down those conditional bids, those second bids, like, we're never as low or as bad as we think we are, or as high as we are. So got to keep grinding, keep going.
That's a good thing. I always say in fantasy, don't get too high on the highs, don't get too low on the lows. And we played. I look at the Yankees are 42 and 28, so they played 70 games. So we're not even halfway through. I think it's a really good point, though. It's too bad you made it this late in the podcast. People are hopefully listening. It's a good point on the secondary bids. I think a lot of times, I think lowering my, who I get in the first set of bids and the second, I really lower those second ones because you're going to get someone there. And I always find myself overspending on that, second, third, fourth guys. And you're there's nothing worse when you win guys 17-0. I hate that. I'm fine winning guys 45-20. At least there's some bidding in there. When there's nobody else that has a bid and you bid 17-20, that really drives me crazy. I hate those. So I think that you're right. Those second, third, and fourth guys, you got to make sure you're not overspending those guys because that's when you get September and you realize you don't have much money left. It's those that, $10-20 lost every week that you didn't need to. That's really key.
Yeah, last note on this. Time management is really, really key for this.
You're telling me, man. It's been a rough time management year, but it's really important. You got to spend the time on it.
Yeah, and the kicker to that is making sure that you've stepped away and then come back in, because a lot of times you will actually lower your bids and still win a lot of them. It's very often that you're like, oh, I just dropped it down by $3 and I lost by $1 when you're in the 80s, right? That hardly happens. So go ahead, take a breather, get away from it, and go in there.
It's funny. I more often than not, I end up bumping up my top guys a little bit, and then everybody else I end up lowering. So I think that's really important. It's good to look at the second time, because when you're putting a bid, you're like, oh, that's $8. That'll be worth it. And you're like, that's a $2 or $3 guy. But I tend to underbid on guys, so I usually up my higher guys and then lower everybody else. And it tends to work really well.
I'll leave you with this. What fantasy baseball is. This is it in a nutshell. You're watching a game on a Saturday, and you've been waiting all season for Luis Rengifo to do something. Just do something. He hits a bomb. You're like, oh, wow. All right, wait, something's happening. Hits another bomb. You're pumped. You're jumping around. You're going, go click on your team's live scoring. Oh, wait, I dropped them everywhere. That's fantasy baseball.
It is, although he's hitting 220 with 3 home runs, so I think you're okay if you drop Luis Rengifo.
Always the realist. Thanks for having me, Scott.
No problem. Well, we really appreciate you jumping on. I know it's a crazy busy day. You got FAAB articles. You got Father's Day. So I really do appreciate the time. I know everybody's busy, so I do really mean that. If you want to follow Vlad on Twitter, X, Blue Sky, he's at RotoGut, ROTOGUT. You want to read his content. He has a fantastic FAAB article. I could not do FAAB without it every week. It would take me longer than it already does. That is at FTN Fantasy. I highly recommend that. Also got a lot of other content during the week, too. It's not just the FAAB piece. So there's a lot of really good stuff there. So definitely check that out. Hope everybody enjoyed the stream. Hope if you're listening on the audio version, hope you guys enjoyed that as well. We'll be back next week. I'll have to check, but I think Jeff Erickson might actually be back in the country next week. So we might get him back on the podcast. Really appreciate you filling in. Appreciate Ryan Bloomfield, Paul Sporer, you guys filling in the last 3 weeks. Three titans of the fantasy world joining me. It's really appreciated. So thanks for coming on, Vlad. Hope everybody has a really good week and a good fantasy week, and take care.